I'm going to share about the unsung heroes of the photography studio. The weird things, the less talked about gears, tools, equipment, just stuff that I use very frequently, even though it's not as hot of a topic as lighting equipment, cameras, lenses, and backdrops. So this is the other stuff that gets the job done. So first we have a knee pad. It is overlooked but very helpful for when you do remember that you have it and that you can use it. Sometimes we don't have the ability to elevate our situation, and so that means if we're working on the ground, then our knees are also working on the ground, and having a knee pad will obviously help. So helpful. I have here a bag of quarters or a bag of batteries, whichever. So why do I have a bag of quarters? The bag of quarters is more often than not used for forming into a shape to help stand up an item that would otherwise fall. So think of purses, bags, things like that, waist belt things, and it's just items like that that you need to stand upright for the shot, but they will not. They will not stand upright. So the cool thing about this is it's heavy, it will keep it standing upright, but it can mold to whatever shape it needs to. I used to try and use like heavy marble bookends and stuff, which worked in larger bags and backpacks and things. However, when the bags got more interestingly shaped or smaller, the big bookends would not work anymore. So I had to move on to something a little more unconventional, but easily accessible, because I saved quarters when I was younger. But batteries also something that most of us can probably get our hands on. So that's definitely, it's weird, but it works, I promise. What I have here is an extension cord. I love this thing. It's very handy in the studio and on location. So when I am shooting on location, it's easy to pack that up, and it's just so easy to use. It's very easy to use. Obviously we use extension cords in most of our situations, but I do like that this one rolls up and it kind of packs itself away and has a nice handy handle, all the things. Anyways, really nice to have this one. I believe I got this at Costco years ago, so I do not know the situation of that to this day. Here I have printer paper and cardstock. Easy bounce in a pinch. Sometimes you have a setup that it's harder to get maybe your normal bounce card in place, so something like paper can obviously be folded or cut to whatever kind of situation you need it to be. Also, cardstock is a great backdrop in a pinch. If you just need for something small, a quick white backdrop. Cardstock makes an excellent folded little bounce card if you just need a small one. So I know it's just paper, but I do use it a lot, funny enough. Next up we have fishing wire. So fishing wire I think is a little bit more well known of a little weird thing, because we use fishing wire to hold up, it's a mess, to hold up items, to float things sometimes. Obviously we use little clamps and stuff to magic hands and whatever. Those are more well known, I would say. But fishing wire is like, let's say I have to have a wreath floating in the backdrop behind a setup. Well, fishing wire is gonna do the trick, right? Or I this one time I had this very interesting tool that needed to, because it had a label, branded label on the top, and we needed to get the photo of it sideways, which it held up just perfectly, but we wanted the same exact photo, but then with the tool open, and the only way to get that is fishing wire. So I don't have to explain this. I'm pretty sure you get the utilization of fishing wire, but it is handy and often hard to find. Like literally, I never know where it is. So I try to keep it in the same spot, like kind of wrapped around a clip thing, so I can always get it in a pinch. This right here is for color correcting my monitors, so that I know that what I see is color corrected. We can only control so much of this, right? Because once it's out of our hands, it's on your screens. And everybody's screens are completely calibrated differently, I would say. But I'm doing my part to make sure it starts out on the right foot. So I do use a color card in the photo, and then I'll use that on my monitor. And by doing both things, I have some options to make sure I'm, you know, crossing my T's, dotting my I's, and all that when it comes to color correction. Here are a couple of levels. I have a few of them all around the studio. I do have some tripod heads that have levels built into them, but some of them do not. And sometimes I use a level to make sure I am shooting kind of level. Level, obviously. There are other things like setting up a scene, and you want to, there's just some things. Every once in a while, you just need a level in a pinch, and so I have them all over the studio. Cleaning supplies, I will not detail that, but that is pretty obvious, but sometimes overlooked. You do need to make sure your set is clean. Sometimes I can get excited and just start shooting, and then I'm looking at the table or the backdrop, and I'm like, this thing's a mess. So the product itself also can be a mess. And you can think it's super clean, and then when you look at it on the screen, you'll see like oils or fingerprints, and you're like, what? How'd that get there? So cleaning supplies, and also gloves. So that kind of goes within that, is wearing, you know, gloves. Sometimes the gloves are not the solution though. It just depends on the gloves. Sometimes they get more in the way than out of the way, and so I do my best to just try and clean the product really well and use the cloth to place, and I use sticks. This is also something that is an unsung hero. This is a giant little bamboo stick thing. You get these, they're like skewers. You can get them in like the barbecue section. I think you can also get them in the plant section. That is actually what I primarily use these for around my house, is for plants. You check them like a brownie to see how, like, you know, how the soil is, right? So I will also use sticks to help kind of prod little jewelry and things like that so that I'm not touching it. I showed that, we can put this away. I showed that, I think, in my unboxing V-flat video. You probably saw me kind of like poking the ring or earrings. I forgot what I was shooting there. I think it was earrings. So long sticks. Adhesives and putties. I could probably make an entire video on adhesives and putties on my favorites. So maybe I will do that, because each one plays its role in different things. I think they are talked about well enough. So as you could see, as we're getting further down this line, I think we're getting more popular items, if that makes sense. So adhesives are pretty popular, but you just want to make sure you have a wide range of them, because there are so many different ones that are best used in different ways. So it's good to have a lot of different options. So finally, I have some tools, and right here is just like a tool kit case thing, and then this is a bucket of other tools that I have collected, and I would probably have an entire tool chest in here if I had space for it, because it's nice to just know where something is when you need to fix something. So there's a lot of gear around here that can, you know, need a little TLC, or we're often swiping out. Like I have a lot of adapters in the studio for, you know, 3/4, 5/8, all the different, you know, mounting types and screws and whatever. So there's a lot of that. Also, you've seen probably me use my belt. The belt doesn't need TLC, but the mount on the bottom of my cameras that use the belt, I do like to make sure I periodically tighten those down to make sure they're not loosening over time. You know, tripod heads, you get the drill. So the drill's downstairs. But it's nice to have tools, very handy at the ready. Okay, this is a bonus, but also I feel necessary to mention, and that would be back rolly thingies. This is a foam roller. There's lots of different kinds out there. I've had this for many, many years. A couple of years ago, I purchased the chirp wheels. You know, along the lines of the knee pad situation, your girl's getting kind of old. And so after every shoot, I swear, I feel like my body's going to break. So I need to roll it out. I will roll it out, I stretch, and then I also have an inverter that I like to use downstairs. So it's a whole process for my back after a shoot. And then after I have, you know, decompressed all of the things, I can then start the editing process. So that's a wrap. That's a wrap on all the weird things that I feel I should mention because I use these things just as much as I use props and, you know, different lenses and backdrops and things. So that's this video. I will see you in the next one.